That's me the day I picked up my 2021 Mazda 3 Turbo. And that was actually the first time I'd ever laid eyes on this specific car, as the dealer had to bring it in from somewhere else. I'd watched countless YouTube reviews leading up to it, probably every single one, and I was stoked. And here we are, 5 years later with 85,000 kilometers. We've had some eventful moments along the way, but all in all, this has been an absolutely terrific little car. But it's been 5 years since I bought this 2021 Mazda 3 Turbo, or Mazda 3 Turbo. If you're in the States, you say Mazda. I just find that sounds weird. Most Canadians, or at least Canadians I know, say Mazda, but we all say it differently, so whatever. Anyways, 2021 Mazda 3 Turbo. This is the Sport GT in Canada, and then in the US it's called like a Premium Plus. So when I bought it, it was pretty much fully loaded. There wasn't really any other option you could get, aside from the anniversary edition, which was like slightly more expensive. In 2021, MSRP on this car was $35,600. And then with taxes, it hit about $40,000. With all fees and taxes in now, this car costs $47,000 if you buy a 2026 version. I still really like this car, and everything seems to be holding up pretty well. The interior still looks pretty good, aside from the piano black. Obviously that's scratched up. In the last year, since my last video, I've put on about another 20,000 kilometers or so. I've got 84,000 kilometers on this car right now. A lot of you are probably gonna say, wow, that's not very much for 5 years. True, but I did co-run a larger YouTube channel before this channel. We had press cars all the time, so this car was kind of parked in my garage a lot. That's kind of why my mileage is pretty low. And for the last year of my YouTube channel, I've been driving a lot of press vehicles too. But again, I just want to say thank you to everybody who supported that video. That was my first video on this YouTube channel. It's hit like 500,000 views now, which is crazy to me. And we just hit 30,000 subscribers too. Feeling pretty good about the YouTube channel, and I appreciate all of your support. Now, has anything really changed since my 4-year long-term review? Not a whole lot. The first thing you'll notice though are the new set of wheels on this car. They are 18-inch RSSW wheels. They're like a black, gloss black look. I kind of like them. I mean, I do like them. I bought them. What am I saying? I kind of like them. I do like them. I think they're pretty sweet looking. They make the car look wider at the back. I've had no luck looking for a Mazda center cap for these wheels, so I may just end up putting a blank one there. I don't know. But for now, it's fine. Aside from the wheels, you'll also notice my Vredestein Alltrack Pro tires, and I quickly want to shout out Vredestein, who has been supporting this channel and my Mazda 3. I've been running Vredestein tires on my car for 2 years now, and I started with their Hypertrack all seasons, then went to their Wintrack Pro Plus tires in the winter, and recently they sent me these Alltrack Pro Performance tires. And on this car, the difference is immediate. Turn-in is sharper, braking is shorter, wet grip is A-rated, and apparently they're one of the quietest tires in the ultra high performance category. Now, with these Alltrack Pro tires, this car feels really good in the corners. If you want to find a set of Vredestein tires for your Mazda 3 or for whatever you're driving, Vredestein has everything from all-weathers, all-terrain, winters, and performance tires. Click the link in the description below or visit vredestein.ca and find a tire dealer near you. So maybe this is your first video on the 4th generation Mazda 3. It's been out since 2019, this body style anyways, and the Turbo came out in 2021. So technically I bought the first year of the powertrain in this car, which usually you're not supposed to do, but this 2.5 liter turbo has been around for a while, and it's proven to be a pretty reliable powertrain for Mazda. Now this makes 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque on 93 octane. If you run it on regular fuel, you get 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. And if you're in Europe and you're kind of confused by those numbers, well, our 93 is like your 98. Our ratings are just different. But unfortunately, you can't get the turbo. in Europe.
It has a 6-speed automatic transmission, and yes, unfortunately, it is not available in manual with the turbo. You can only get manual on a front-wheel drive, naturally aspirated Mazda 3. Mazda took a bit of a different approach with this Mazda 3. They really aimed it at the luxury class. They wanted to compete with the Audi A3, the A-Class Mercedes, and the 2 Series BMW, which actually I honestly think it does a pretty good job at competing with those vehicles at a much lower price point.
Now, the front end of the Mazda 3 is epic. I think this is a sweet looking car. It's so aggressive. I love the halo lights. I really wish you could drive around with those halo daytime running lights, but you can't in Canada. In the US, you have an extra setting in your infotainment screen where you can drive around with them, but here in Canada, it's just full headlights. I know I talked about this in the other review, but it's still a pet peeve of mine because just look at it. It looks so cool like that. Anyways, front end is sweet. Now, I know this video is sponsored by Vredestein, but these tires are fantastic. It really changes the car. Car feels like it's on rails now. The turn-in is super sharp. Love it. One other thing to note, these are 225/45s. The car comes with 215s. I just wanted to get slightly bigger tires, just looks a bit better in my opinion, but yeah, they fit fine. Now, one piece of advice would be to keep this area clean. So these side mirrors are mounted onto the door panel. This was an issue with the previous generation too, but when the water trickles down, it just stains the door panel. I've seen this on CX-5s and stuff too. If you don't keep on top of it, it permanently stains and it looks terrible. I see a lot of Mazda 3s around with those water stains, and yeah, it's preventable. So what I do is I just use some turtle wax like every other month or so after the car's been cleaned, and that seems to keep the water stains away. So I do still have regrets about not getting the Aero kit when I purchased this vehicle. In the States, on the Premium Plus, you get the rear spoiler and the front lip, which looks awesome. Here in Canada, it came this way, and I still think they don't sell it with the Aero kit. You gotta buy that separately. It's really expensive. I think it's like around $2,000 to $3,000 now. It just looks a little more substantial with that Aero kit. So basically the only difference on a newer Mazda 3 would be the turn signals. They pulse now and they look super classy and nice, but that's really it. I had a front wheel drive Mazda 3 really recently, and the only difference was really the tailpipes and the badging. Otherwise it looked like the same car. My buddy thought it was my car, and you know what? That was kind of depressing because he didn't notice that my tailpipes are bigger than a front wheel drive Mazda 3. It's really the only difference. And yeah, honestly, this right here is my favorite angle because it looks so aggressive and angry from here. Really cool with the halo lights. Yeah, just wish you could drive with them. Now also, these headlights are incredibly bright at night, and you will get people high beaming you thinking you have your high beams on, but yeah, no, they're great at night, especially when you're out on dark country roads. Now, just in case you're wondering, is there a difference between the exhaust sound on a turbo and a non-turbo? Well, here you go. Now, some of this may sound repetitive to you if you've watched the 4-year long-term review, but basically maintenance stuff. I replaced the battery at about 50,000 kilometers. I left the daytime running lights running because I was taking pictures and videos of it. And then the car battery died, and the battery was just never the same after that. So battery was replaced at 50,000 kilometers. Front brake pads and rotors were replaced around 50,000 kilometers too. And then I just had the rear brake pads and rotors replaced at 80,000 kilometers. So how have things held up in my Mazda 3 over the last 5 years or so? Honestly, everything still looks pretty good. There are a few things here and there that look worn, like the seats are starting to look a little bit more worn. That's just what leather does. I really noticed it coming in and out of a new 2025 Mazda 3, and then sitting in this, and mine definitely feel worn in and maybe not as comfortable anymore. They were never really comfortable seats to begin with. That's one thing I will knock on this car. They are firm. Some people actually prefer it this way. I find them just a little uncomfortable after 3 hours of driving, but hey, they look cool. It is a power seat on the left, and then it is manual on the right. Love this steering wheel. The steering wheel is sweet. It is starting to peel, and it's been doing this for the last couple years. Eventually, it's probably not gonna look too good, but right now it's still okay. Love that we have analog gauges still. The next Mazda 3 generation will for sure probably have a digital display there. I like that this is analog. I mean, the middle is a digital display, but they made it look analog, so I like that. The Bose audio sound system continues to be awesome. I think it's a really good sound system. Sounds a lot better than some like fancier brands that I've been in lately. It's really nice, and it's integrated well into the door panels. Doesn't look cheap. Some like Bose speakers can look kind of like an afterthought. These look like they were intentionally integrated because they were. We have the 8-inch screen. This was a 2021 and this was the biggest screen you could get that year. Now you can get that new 10-inch screen, which is also a touchscreen. It would be nice to have a touchscreen, to be honest. I get kind of frustrated with this in CarPlay sometimes, but if you're using the main infotainment system, it's easy. It's nice to have the option, like in the new Mazda 3, where you can touch the screen or you can use the rotary dial. The piano black is looking pretty scratched up, so I would say if you're buying a new Mazda 3, get a protective layer of film to keep it from looking awful after like 2 months of ownership. The backup camera continues to be really good, comparatively speaking to other brands. It's pretty clear, but on the new Mazda 3 and the 2025, 2026, camera seems a little bit better. I don't know if it's just because it's a bigger screen and it has better resolution, but yeah, it seems like they upgraded the cameras in the new one. People complain about the blind spot a lot. It's gotten me like once or twice in the past where I'm starting to go, I'm like, oh shoot, there's someone there. But the blind spot monitoring works pretty well for the most part. Sometimes it's on and there's like nobody around and I'm like, what are you doing? But for the most part, blind spot monitoring works well. In terms of the air conditioning, maybe it's because it's a black car, but it takes a while to cool down in here, I find. And then I find unless you're at like 15 degrees Celsius or low, it doesn't feel cold. So I always have it kind of like down to 15 degrees Celsius. Obviously that's going to confuse some people if you're watching from the US, but it's cold. In my 4-year long-term review, I did talk about an oil burning issue, which is kind of specific to these 2021s.
So some Mazda 3 turbos, and specifically the turbos from 2021, experience this excessive oil consumption, which is the result of a valve stem seal defect. And I've been wanting to just get ahead of this and get it replaced, but it appears that you need to do a lot with the dealership before you can actually get that replaced here in Canada. I think the experience might be a bit different in the US. But yeah, I just wanted to get ahead of it because I have experienced this where I'll get a low engine oil alert on my driver's display, but apparently I'm all good. My car looks fine. But yeah, I just wanted to get ahead of it just in case it does become an issue down the line because I plan to keep this car for a long period of time.
So if you watched my last video on my car, you'll know I complain a lot about this droning noise it makes on the highway at about 120 to 125 kilometers an hour. And a bunch of you commented on the video and said, I have the exact same noise. Like, I thought my car was broken. Turns out our cars aren't broken. So the CX-30, CX-30 Turbo, and Mazda 3 Turbo sedan I drove last year all made this noise too. And a subscriber actually reached out and explained to me what's going on.
So shortly after posting my 4-year long-term review, @SuperMazda3_ on Instagram reached out and explained to me that he was able to make the ringing noise go away. Now for context, this is someone who works with Mazda 3s regularly and he tunes them. Here's what he found. He changed the transfer case fluid to the original SG1 hypoid gear oil and it made the sound go away. And honestly, this lines up with my recent experience in a front-wheel drive Mazda 3, video coming soon, where that car didn't make the ringing noise. Front-wheel drive cars don't have transfer cases, so this lines up. Apparently, Mazda dealers don't use the OE fluid for maintenance. The noise is caused by oil viscosity. The issue is the result of 75W90 gear oil being used instead of 75W85 being used. The thicker oil viscosity at operating temperatures causes the whine. Now I haven't tried this yet, but I definitely will bring it up the next time I take it in to get its oil changed. And speaking of oil changes, they cost around $140 taxes in Canadian. They didn't used to cost that much, but everything, you know, just keeps getting more expensive.
Now, aside from the droning noise, this car is a great highway cruiser. You can pass people super easily. There's so much power, which is great. In terms of fuel economy, up until filming this video, I was getting 8.7 liters per 100 kilometers. During the winter, I was getting 9.8. So it's significantly different in the winter, especially with winter tires on. But lately I've been getting 8.7. Right now I'm getting 9 liters per 100 kilometers because I've been flooring it and driving fast for all these shots. So you really got to know what you want when you're buying this, because if you're expecting something aggressive, that's not this car. It's still quick, it's still fast. You can still hit 60 miles per hour in like 5.5 seconds. That is fast territory, but it's not an aggressive car with like a dual clutch transmission. The 6-speed is a big plus and a big negative at the same time. It is kind of slow to shift from first to second, but on your day-to-day, you kind of don't notice it. It's very smooth. Which, coming out of my Ford Focus, That thing jitters so much at low speeds, it's embarrassing. But here we go, into the corners fast. Feels great, yeah, it's just a fun car yeah, there's body roll for sure, but it's still fun to drive. Other big pluses, this all-wheel drive system is fantastic, and I love it in the winter. It's fun to drive. You can drift a little bit with it. So I've driven a lot of different press vehicles over the years, and people sometimes ask, like, how does it feel getting back into your normal car after driving all these fancy cars? And I'm like, honestly, pretty good. This car honestly feels more premium than a lot of the cars I drive. No lie. So what are some things that have happened with this Mazda 3 over its lifespan? Well, the very first weird thing that happened was a squirrel got in the engine bay and ate through some wires, got all these warnings on the car, and that ended up costing about $400 to $500 to fix. Then the next thing that happened, and like basically a year into ownership, someone nicked the side of it. I have no idea who, but it had this nice big bump in it. I was able to kind of fix it with boiling water, but it just never really looked the same. But as you can see, it looks fine now, and here's why. So yeah, no car guy wants to admit that they make a mistake on the road, but I did. And basically someone was turning right at an intersection. I was behind them also wanting to turn right. The sun was blasting in my eyes, not an excuse. It looked like they were starting to go, so I checked my blind spot and then just hit the gas without even thinking that they hadn't left. And I just ended up right in the rear bumper. Anyways, it was minimal damage on both vehicles. No one was hurt or anything. But the one thing I'll remember, and in typical Canadian fashion, is she got out of her car and said sorry to me. I was like, no, this is 100% my fault. Yeah, felt pretty terrible about that, and have continued to feel terrible about that. I guess the silver lining here is my front bumper got replaced, so that dent was dealt with. The moral of the story is basically you can choose how to act in these situations, and I'll always remember how friendly she was and that she didn't jump out of the car and rage at me or get mad. So yeah.
Well, there you have it. 5 years with my Mazda 3 Turbo, and they've flown by. It's been a great car. I honestly love daily driving this thing, and it definitely pushes above its class in terms of luxury and premium feel, especially in the interior and with the transmission. If you have any questions about the Mazda 3, feel free to drop a comment below and I'll try to answer the best I can. Thanks again to Vredestein Tires for sponsoring this video and supporting this channel, and thanks for getting to the end of this video. We'll see you soon.